Good day, and thank you for tuning in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. For all of our new listeners and viewers who are tuning in for the very first time, I'm Pastor Pope, and Senior Pastor of New Life Christian Center, located at 400 Hillcrest Avenue, Wilmington, Delaware, 19809. So if you're ever in our area, we invite you to come and worship with us on Sunday mornings at 10 a.m. We invite you to come and experience a better quality of life. And if you know someone that's in our area, we invite you to invite them to come and worship with us every Sunday at 10 a.m. And as always, we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, broadcasting live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio with a little technical difficulty. But I thank you all for being patient and for tuning in with us wherever you are across the U.S. and wherever you are around the globe. We are broadcasting right here live from the FijiWater.com sponsored studio, where you can discuss careers, finances, entrepreneurship. You can discuss marriage, divorce, raising children, blending families. You can discuss dating and relationships. Whatever's in your heart and whatever's on your mind, God is concerned about that which concerns you. And that is the reason that we are here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast, which is brought to you daily by Fiji Water, Earth's finest water. You may already know that Fiji water comes from Fiji. However, did you know that it is created by nature? It is untouched by man. It starts as a tropical rainfall which slowly filters through layers of volcanic rock, where the water collects in a natural, sustainable, artesian aquifer where it is bottled right at the source, free from human contact until you unscrew the blue cap. Fiji Water, Earth's finest water, will be delivered right to your front door when you subscribe for delivery, and you'll save money at FijiWater.com. This is not just ordinary water. This is Earth's finest water at FijiWater.com. And for those of you who continue giving on the contribution pages of our websites, now at newlife-delaware.org, we thank all of you who are using the QR code and the link provided on Facebook and YouTube. And we thank all of you that are now using Zelle to support the broadcast by giving. And we want to say to you all, we appreciate your commitment and your support as we fulfill our commitment to God to be here for you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I want to remind everyone that we want you to stay connected with us on our internet radio station, WKAPfaith.com, where we play music 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, music that will encourage you, inspire you, and it will empower you. And so we want to make certain that you stay connected with us. So I'm going to say to all of our listeners and viewers, we have a food source pantry at New Life Christian Center. And it is our public charity. It is called New Life Food Source Pantry. If you know someone, and hear me well, it's not just for you. If you know someone that is dealing with food insecurities, we ask that you will refer them to us on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. What we will do is make certain that they have instructions on how to receive food from our food source pantry. Again, have them contact us on the T-Mobile caller text line at 267-992-1424. We will make certain that they have food that is necessary so that they do not have to experience food insecurities. Now, I have to begin by saying we had a little technical difficulty to start the day. So we are delighted that you were with us. We're delighted that you were patient to wait until we were able to go live. And we are now here with you in 3D, the Daily Divine Direction broadcast. So I'm just making certain that everything is functioning properly. And I want to say to everyone, it is a glorious day here. So I hope that wherever you are across the U.S. and wherever you are around the globe, it is a glorious day for you also. So now, having said that, I'm going to address a communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated that you have been thinking about a previous relationship and how you destroyed that relationship. However, your significant other has moved on and has no desire to revisit the past. Okay. So you got to understand what you are asking him to do first of all. It was a previous relationship. So that implies that it was the past. The problem is that, often people want to revisit relationships that they were in because you realize that it was a good relationship. And it was not just a good relationship, it was good for you and to you. The problem is that when someone leaves a relationship, they may realize that the relationship was not good. Even if it was good to them, it might not be good for them. And so you have to understand that the reason he's not interested in going back is because it was the past. And he's not interested in revisiting the challenges that he had to deal with in the relationship. And the reason you're thinking about it is, you find yourself thinking about it, is because it was good to you and it was good for you. What you have to do now is not make the same mistakes as you move forward in the next relationship. And here's what I'm going to say to you about that. The reason that he doesn't have any desire to go back and revisit it is because he hasn't seen change in your life. And when there's been no change in your life, what you're asking him to do is go back to the same circumstances, the same situation that he experienced previously. Why would he have a desire to do that knowing how the relationship imploded? And the problem and this is going to help all of our listeners and viewers, I assure you, your communication is going to help a lot of listeners and viewers. The problem is that when we bring the same behaviors into a relationship that we carried out over time, long ago, when there's no change, when there's no new creature, it's the same old creature. If there's no change, then he would just be going back into the past. And no one wants to go back into the past of something that was not successful. It was not beneficial. And so what happens is that people move on. If any of you have ever been in a relationship, or you've been in a relationship that recently ended, let me try that, and you want to rekindle that relationship without making any changes, you both know how that movie ends. You know what the end looks like. So, in your case, to our listener and viewer, you were in a relationship that was a good relationship, but you brought a lot of old behavior into that relationship. You brought all of the life experiences that you had and those around you had into that relationship. And you weren't capable of enjoying that relationship. So you expected it to come to an end. So you did everything you could to destroy it. You didn't bring a new creature into the relationship. And now what you're saying is you really thought he would come back into that relationship because the relationship was good to him. It wasn't good for him, but it was good to him. He enjoyed the companionship. He enjoyed the relationship. He enjoyed being in a relationship with you. But it wasn't ever good for him because it caused him a lot of undue stress, caused him a lot of unnecessary stress. And then the things that you did to destroy the relationship eventually eroded the love that was there, and he couldn't go back to that. And he couldn't go back to it because he knew it would happen again. It happened over and over again. So you were perpetuating the same kind of behavior, thought process. So there was no way he could go back to that. So now moving forward, your next relationship, you've got to say, I've got to make some changes in myself in order to have a successful relationship in the future. You wanted him to come back into a relationship with no changes, no progress, nothing new added to the equation, just the same old, same old. And he wasn't going to do that. So now you have to say, okay, I've got to learn from this experience. My next relationship, I'm going to be a new me. I'm going to change the way I behave. I'm going to change the way I speak. I'm going to change the way I think. I'm going to be a new creature. And then allow the next person in the relationship to help you become that new creature. Shape a new you. You know, that's often what people struggle with, is shaping a new you. Because we become comfortable with who we are. And making change makes us uncomfortable. And what I encourage people to do is be comfortable being uncomfortable. Be comfortable changing the way we behave. Be comfortable changing with the way we speak. Be comfortable changing with the way we think. Because as a man or woman thinketh, so is he or she. Let's try to be the new creatures we desire to be in Christ. You know, it's interesting because, and this will kind of take me into another communication, but it's interesting because one of the things we don't recognize is that in order to progress, there has to be change, but we don't like change. And so consequently, we drag all of our bad habits with us into every new environment that we enter into. But with the new environment or a new stage or a new level, there's going to have to be some change in us. Now, if you're consistently in the right place in your behavior, your speech, your thoughts, then okay, keep moving forward. But if we're not consistent in the messages we send with our behavior, if we're not consistent in the messages we send with our speech, if we're not consistent or communication, if we're not consistent in our thought process, we're going to revert back to what we've always known, which has not allowed us to perform at the highest level. It may have allowed us to perform at a certain level, but not at the highest level. So I'm going to encourage us all. I'm going to say this. For all of us together today, we're 1 month into the new year. Let's make certain that we didn't bring the same old man or woman into this year that we closed out last year with. Let's have a new attitude. I said this in the sermon at the beginning of the year. Let's have a new attitude. Let's create new behavior. Let's communicate differently. Let's think differently. Let this mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. So let's think differently. Let's not think that, well, if I do this, I'm going to get a result. Because it may not be the best result. So let's try something differently. Something different. Let's be different. And let's become the best version of ourselves we can possibly become. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. If you are not currently a T-Mobile customer, You may call or text on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will move you into our queue so that you have the opportunity to become a T-Mobile customer and experience America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. Taxes and fees are included in your bill, and if you auto pay by attaching a credit card to your account, you will receive a discount on your monthly bill. At T-Mobile, America's largest and most reliable 5G provider at no extra charge. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers. However, let's remember as we are in this new year, if New Life Community Development Corporation has become your private money lender, if you are in the real estate business, we're not talking about financing or mortgaging property owned by individuals. We're talking about if you are a real estate investor, if you are a developer, if you're a flipper, anyone who's in the real estate business, if you need capital, New Life Community Development Corporation is your private money lender. Contact us on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We will make certain that you have the capital that you need for your real estate projects. Cannot be owner occupied, so it's not for that purpose. It's for the purpose of investment. And we will handle that for you through New Life Community Development Corporation. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated you are concerned about the future success of your children. However, you say they have stopped accepting your guidance long ago. Okay, so you ask in your communication, what do you do to get your children to accept your guidance? And the answer to that is stop trying to get them to accept your guidance. They are grown adults now. Let go, let God. Okay? The reality is people only learn by two methods. And if someone comes up with a third one that's not a cliche, email me, text me on the T-Mobile call or text line at 267-992-1424. We always want to make certain we're giving out the best information to our listeners and viewers. People learn by two methods. They either learn by instruction or they learn by consequence. So if they're not accepting your guidance or / instructions, then they've decided that they want to learn by consequence. The reason that you can give them guidance and instruction is because you lived life. Now I heard someone say this today, but I hear people, the generations behind us saying constantly, life be lifing. Well, life doesn't have to be lifing. Life will happen to us all, but it doesn't have to happen continuously. And the problem that happens for many people is the reason it keeps happening continuously is because they have decided they're going to learn by consequence. You have instruction that you can give them because you've been through some of life experiences. You've lived life long enough to be able to give them that guidance and that instruction. But they would rather learn by consequence. And if they would rather learn by consequence, you have to let go and let God. You have to let go and allow God to do in their lives what He desires to do, because they are not learning from your guidance or instruction. And it's very interesting to me because I was having a conversation recently where one of the things we talked about in that conversation is that there are certain cultures, there are very specific cultures that are more willing to learn by guidance and instruction than some cultures. Some cultures feel that it's important for them to learn by their consequences because they don't want to hear what they believe to be outdated information. They don't want to hear what they believe to be not relevant. But the reality is that history just continues to repeat itself. And the truth of the matter is that life has so many lessons to teach us that it will, chances are, whatever your adult children, whatever you're concerned about your adult children's future, you have lived through it already. You can tell them what it looks like. You can give them guidance on how to navigate it. You can even provide them with some instruction on how to navigate it. And if they choose to refuse your guidance and instruction, they are saying to you, I make a conscious decision that I am going to learn how to navigate life by the consequences that occur. Now, I've often said, who wants to do that? But the answer appears to be many. Let go and let God. Because once they refuse your guidance and instruction, they're going to learn by the consequences that occur as God teaches them a lesson. As they go through whatever it is they have to go through to get to the next phase of life, God will give them that. See, the great thing is, God doesn't want to see anyone who believes in him suffering. He doesn't want to see them perish. He doesn't want to see them destroyed. So he's going to give them lesson after lesson. The first thing he gave them was parents who could govern over their lives as children. Watch over them, nurture them. Get them to the place where they're educated and they can go out in the world and make a life for themselves. He gave them parents. He gave us all parents. And then he says, this is what you have to model after. Either you embrace the model because it's good, or you reject the model because it's not bearing fruit. But either way, this is the model that you have. And then you have to start building life for ourselves. And again, instruction or consequence. And as we build that life for ourselves, we have to, along the course of life, decide, are we going to develop a relationship with the Lord and learn his word so that it can be a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. And with godly parents, we get to follow the path. But at the end of the day, each and every one of us is either going to learn by instruction or learn by consequence. But once we get to the place where we become, in the lives of our children, less relevant, we've done our job. But the rest is up to them how much further they want to allow us to guide and lead and instruct them. And what they don't realize is the stronger the village, the less chance you have to be invaded by the problems of the world. Let go, let God. I promise you he'll do exactly what he wants to do in their lives. This segment of the broadcast is brought to you by Charles Tyrwhitt, located in London, the UK. They also have stores in New York, Chicago, Washington, D.C., and at the King of Prussia Mall in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. So if you're in any of those areas, stop in at the retail stores. They have everything a man could possibly need. And if you're not in any of those areas, you can order from Charles Tyrwhitt at ctshirts.com. They will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. And the White Company, located in London, the UK. They also have a store on Fifth Avenue in New York. So if you're in New York, stop in at their retail store. They have everything you could possibly need: home goods, clothing for men, women, and children. And if you're not in New York, you can order from the White Company at thewhitecompany.com. They too will ship and deliver right to your front door in an appropriate period of time. I'm going to address another communication that came in from one of our listeners and viewers who indicated there's been a significant amount of trauma in your life, and you have made every effort to overcome your trauma, although you feel it has affected your progress and had an impact on your success. Okay. So first of all, let me say this to you. I'll acknowledge this. Trauma can have that effect on you. But you can't live traumatized. You can identify there's been trauma in your life. However, you don't want to live your life being traumatized. So you have to take responsibility for your own life. Don't allow the trauma to become responsible for your life. Don't allow yourself to be traumatized. Just acknowledge that you have overcome the trauma. And then don't allow it to affect your progress. Don't allow it to impact your success. And that has to be a conscious decision. If you've lived a life that has been dealing with trauma, you have to make a conscious decision, maybe daily, monthly, every year, that you're not going to allow that trauma to traumatize you. You have to do that. And you have to say, I'm going to be responsible for every decision that I make. I'm going to be responsible, watch this, and this is interesting because this was part of our cognitive curriculum at the Achievers Academy this morning. We've got to make certain that we don't have the wrong attitude. We should have the right attitude every day. We should make a commitment to not live traumatized. We have to really be intentional about our decision-making process. You know, so part of that conversation was about the people we spend our time with. The people we spend the majority of our time with. And we have to make conscious and intentional decisions. And we have to be critical thinkers. We have to think about not just the decision that we're going to make, but the consequences of the decision that we're going to make, the next decision we're going to make, and the unintended consequences of the next decision we're going to make. That allows you to, and this is going to help all of our listeners, viewers, this will allow you to overcome trauma. When you start critically thinking about what you're doing, not the habits you formed by the trauma you've lived with. So you don't want to become traumatized, even if you've been dealing with trauma at different points of your life. One of the ways that you're going to be able to avoid being traumatized is to work on a relationship with the Lord. And I know some of you are going to say, well, Pastor, you would get there sooner or later. Yes, I will. But here's the reality. Your attitude, your commitment, your decision-making, your determination to excel, and your faith are always going to be, and your life of gratitude are always going to be a part of you overcoming trauma. And let's not negate the habits that we form. So this is a new year. We're in the first month of the new year. As this month comes to an end, let's make some real decisions about critically thinking and being more intentional about all of those categories that I just named.